There is no conflict. My will is yours. Lesson 330 in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students. Lesson 331. I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and I was thinking I'd start things a little different today. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. And the prayer says, and this is for November the 27th. I don't know if I said that yet. And the prayer says, how foolish, Father, to believe your Son could cause himself to suffer. Let me read that again. How foolish, Father, to believe. I'm the one believing something foolish here. How foolish, Father, to believe your Son could cause himself to suffer. So I don't need to have foolish thought. Could he make a plan for his damnation and be left without a certain way to his release? No, because God's love and God's all-powerful. You love me, Father. You could never leave me desolate to die within a world of pain and cruelty. How could I think that love has left itself? There's no will except the will of love. There is no will except the will of love. I suppose that's the reason that I started calling myself Will a long time ago. I'm a William, but I started calling myself a Will because I thought, well, there's something good about the will, particularly when it's the will to love. There is no will except the will of love. Fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours. Fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours. There's only one will in the universe. The will of God, the will of love. Fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours. Conflict is sleep, and peace is awakening. Conflict is sleep, and peace awakening. Death is illusion, life eternal truth. Death is illusion, life eternal truth. There is no opposition to your will. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. And we just see the world with the eyes of forgiveness where the conflict is gone. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. And the write-up is also a prayer in the form of a prayer. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Let us look upon the holy sights forgiveness shows today, that we may find the peace of God. Amen. Let me read that again. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Let us look upon the holy sights forgiveness shows today, that we may find the peace of God. Amen. It just speaks for itself so well. All right, let's go take a look at our text reading. We're going to finish Section 9 of Chapter 9, the course of error, or the correction of error. And we're on the decision to forget. And we are ready for paragraph 79, I think we'll start in. And if you'd like to follow along, let me tell you a little bit about radishes. And, I got these that's just another squash. But look at these buckwheat sprouts haven't yet sprouted. They've been, a couple days now, and we'll keep watching them. Got a little bit of greenery here. That's, I like to eat this. This is, oh my, I just picked it up a while ago. Name slipped my mind. I will tell you as soon as it pops in my mind, or I won't tell you. It's common out here. Paragraph 79. I wanted to read to, before I did that, I wanted to read to you about radishes real quick out of the Baker's Creek catalog, or the whole seed catalog. Cabbage relative, okay, the Raphanus sativus, cabbage relatives that come originally from Asia. That's your radishes. Radishes are at their best in cooler weather, but will take more heat than most cabbage relatives. Salad types are quick to mature, often in 28 to 35 days, and should be succession planted every 2 to 3 weeks from early spring well into the fall to keep a continual harvest. That's something I haven't done. Winter or storage types take longer, 60 to 75 days, and should be planted in the mid to late summer to harvest in the fall. Well, that's a nice idea. These are used and stored similar to the more familiar turnip. All types are grown in ordinary garden soil, work deeply enough to accommodate whatever roots are expected. Daikon types may grow a foot or more in length. Adequate moisture, correct thinning, and weed control are all that's required to grow this easy crop. And then it says here that of the daikon, one of the varieties they've got is the Japanese Minowace daikon. And it's this popular old Japanese favorite. The giant white roots grow to 24 inches long and 3 inches wide. Sweet and very crisp, this radish is a delight pickled, stir-fried, steamed, or raw. So I plan on growing some of those. I understand you work your soil up, then make you get your soil worked down a couple feet, really nice for those particular ones. All right, let's take a look at Burdock is the name of that green there. That's what I was trying to think of. Okay, there are no idolaters. If I'm going to make mention of something, I probably should at least let you see it. A burdock leaf, okay? They'll kind of stay green a good part of the winter too. And you can just kind of chew on them or eat the whole leaf. That's what I do anyway. Not what I'm reading though. Okay, paragraph 79. I just love this. Goes so well with our lesson today. It's like they just meant to be together. There are no idolaters in the kingdom. And what's our lesson? Let's say it again. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. Okay, keep that in mind as we're reading this. There are no idolaters in the kingdom, but there is great appreciation for every soul which God created because of the calm knowledge that each one is part of him. God's Son knows no idols, but he does know his Father. Health in this world is the counterpart of value in heaven. It is not by merit that I contribute to you, but by my love, for you do not value yourselves. When you do not value yourself, you become sick. You sick. You're sick. When you do not value yourself, you become sick. But my value of you can heal you because the value of God's Son is one. When I said, my peace I give unto you, I meant it. Peace comes from God through me to you. It was for you, although you did not ask. And I don't think we need to read that again. It was there in John chapter 14. I'm not for sure which verse it was, but that's where he said that he give us peace. Paragraph 80. When a brother is sick, it is because he is not asking for peace and therefore does not know he has it. When a brother is sick, it is because he is not asking for peace and therefore does not know he has it. The acceptance of peace is the denial of illusion, and sickness is an illusion. Yet every son of God has the power to deny illusions anywhere in the kingdom merely by denying them completely in himself. I can heal you because I know you. I know your value for you, and it is this value that makes you whole. A whole mind is not idolatrous and does not know of conflicting laws. I will heal you merely because I have only one message, and it is true. Your faith in it will make you whole when you have faith in me. 81. I do not bring God's message with deception, and you will learn this as you learn that you always receive as much as you accept. You could accept peace now for everyone you meet and offer them perfect freedom from all illusions because you heard. But have no other gods before him, or you will not hear. God is not jealous of the gods you make, but you are. Okay, so we're learning that our ego is an idol. And we don't want to have any idols before God. Okay? So you would save them, and because he's going on, but have no other gods before him, or you will not hear. You want to hear the one voice. You won't hear the one voice if you're got your value on the ego's voice, or the ego's usurpation of reality or truth or God. You would save them and serve them because you believe that they made you. You think they are your father because you are projecting onto them the fearful fact that you made them to replace God. Yet when they seem to speak to you, remember that nothing can replace God. And whatever replacements you have attempted are nothing. 82. Very simply then, you may believe you are afraid of nothingness, but you are really afraid of nothing. And in that awareness, you are healed. You will hear the God you listen to. You made the God of sickness, and by making him, you made yourself able to hear him. Yet you did not create him because he is not the will of the Father. He is therefore not eternal and will be unmade for you the instant you signify your willingness to accept only the eternal. If God has but one Son, there is but one God. You share reality with him because reality is not divided. To accept other gods before him is to place other images before yourself. There can only be one will. You see what he's saying? You do everything else is make-believe, an idol, he's calling it. 83. You do not realize how much you listen to your gods and how vigilant you are on their behalf. Yet they exist only because you honor them. Place honor where it is due, and peace will be yours. It is your inheritance from your real Father. You cannot make your Father, and the Father you made did not make you. Honor is not due to illusions, for to honor them is to honor nothing. Yet fear is not due them either, for nothing cannot be fearful. You have chosen to fear love because of its perfect harmlessness. And because of this fear, you have been willing to give up your own perfect helpfulness and your own perfect help. Oh my, what have we done? And the last paragraph for today, 84. Only at the altar of God will you find peace. Only at the altar of God will you find peace. In other words, lay the idol on the altar. Just lay it and say, here, God, here's everything I have. Only at the altar of God will you find peace. And this altar is in you because God put it there. It's what you think is worthy, what you think is valuable, what you put on that altar. You want to give it to God. Give God your life and let him take it. You are a good offering to God, and in a nice way. You know, it's like you can't outgive God. Someone told me one time. I thought, well, that's a nice way to look at it. You give up the second so that you can gain the first. Yeah, you give up your personal identity so that you gain your true identity. Okay, only at the altar of God will you find peace, and this altar is in you because God put it there. His voice still calls you to return, and he will be heard when you place no other gods before him. You can give up the god of sickness for your brothers. In fact, you would have to do so if you give him up for yourself. I love that sentence. Let's read it again. You can give up the god of sickness for your brothers. In fact, you would have to do so if you give him up for yourself. If you see him anywhere, you have accepted him. And if you accept him, you will bow down and worship him because he was made as God's replacement. He is the belief that you can choose which God is real. Although it is perfectly clear that this has nothing to do with reality, it is equally clear that it has everything to do with reality as you perceive it. Okay, so we're learning to see a new perception where our will is God's will, and that we rest in that will. What a power we get when we don't have to try to prove anything. We can just rest back and go, well, there is one will, and it's God's. And how does it say it today in our lesson 331? There is no conflict, for my will is yours. You know, and they just sit back and let God do the driving, the the guidance. Okay, what is the ego? The ego is idolatry, the sign of limited and separated self, born in a body, doomed to suffer and to end its life in death. It is the will that sees the will of God as enemy and takes a form in which it is denied. The ego is the proof that strength is weak and love is fearful. Life is really death, and what opposes God alone is true. Peace to such foolishness. Says that in one place when he lays out a bunch of nonsense ideas. The ego is the, in quotes, proof that strength is weak and love is fearful. Life is really death, and what opposes God alone is true. Paragraph 2, the ego is insane. In fear it stands beyond the everywhere, apart from all, in separation from the infinite. In its insanity it thinks it has become a victor over God himself, and in its terrible autonomy it sees the will of God has been destroyed. It dreams of punishment and trembles at the figures in its dreams, its enemies who seek to murder it before it can ensure its safety by attacking them. The Son of God is egoless. What can he know of madness and the death of God when he abides in him? What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? What can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, of hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? I'm going to read that sentence again. What can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, of hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? You know, why did our ancestors that became braves, which, that doesn't have to be just thought of as men, but when you become a brave, you've passed through your fears and the inner world, and you've realized that you're connected. And in that connection, what can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, and hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? That's why there's only one will, because that will that is part of us is the one will with the all of us. To know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws, and its beliefs, its dreams, its hopes, its plans for its salvation, and the cost belief in it entails. In suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare to die. Oh my, what a picture. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light. And what is a lily of forgiveness? It's just a little thought of freedom, a thought of goodness. And that's what I think about lily of forgiveness. It's something that he says, it's like the blooming of a recognition of pure white sinlessness in your brothers and sisters. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light, the altar to illusions, to the shrine of life itself. And peace will be restored forever to the holy minds which God created as his Son, his dwelling place, his joy, his love, completely his, completely one with him. Isn't that beautiful? There is no conflict, for my will is yours. How foolish, Father, to believe your Son could cause himself to suffer. Could he make a plan for his damnation and be left without a certain way to his release? You love me, Father. You could never leave me desolate to die within a world of pain and cruelty. How could I think that love has left itself? There is no will except the will of love. There is no will except the will of love. Fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours. Conflict is sleep, and peace awakening. Death is illusion, life eternal truth. There is no opposition to your will. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Let us look upon the holy sights forgiveness shows today, that we may find the peace of God. Amen. Let us look upon the holy sights forgiveness shows today, that we may find the peace of God. Amen. There is no conflict. There is no conflict. My will is yours.